Okay, so up on the screen is the original amendment, and to speak to that, Shane.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Chair. I'll be brief, but yeah, look, I will support this. I just wanted to point out a couple of really small things, is that suggestions that we lower targets without reference to climate needs of the city, that to me is an offensive proposition. So I just wanted to sort of politely point out that I don't resile from any comments that I've made around emotiveness or whatever. I think it is offensive to say that we're going to reduce climate targets, frankly. And on that note, I'll support this, but not for the purposes of trying to diminish targets through the back door, which there has been some indication of that from previous discussion. I think that would actually be an unintended consequence of that as written. But, you know, I do want to commend everyone for bringing this up at the same time, because implementation is the conversation that we need to have, and we may form different views around how that's going to look, but let's get the information, let's get the data, so it's all good. So that's why I'm voting for this one. And look, I do just have some level of confusion around the sort of timeframes. That might be helpful if we had some timeframes in there. Statements of intent are usually fairly high level. I wonder whether this is the vehicle for this kind of discussion, but you know, with those massive caveats in mind, I do still say I'm going to support this, so thank you, Chair.
And I think the advice that, so in terms of timeframes, and I've spoken to the instigators of this, very, very difficult for this to be incorporated into the SOI. So it won't be, because it's such a big piece of work. So it sits on the outside because we have legislative timeframes. We must meet with the SOI, so we won't get that done by July. So this is a conversation that will be had, but we will just we will just carry on with the SOI process. Okay, so Chris Darby.
I just want a clarification, and I did ask the mover, and I was trying to be helpful. I was trying to understand what measures. Now, in the rewording, the word climate was added. Can I just ask, are we talking about climate measures here? Climate/emission measures? Is that what is being discussed? Because there's a whole bunch of measures in the SOI. So can I ask the executive officer, is that the understanding when your team interpret this, Barry, that we're talking about climate/emission measures?
It's more of a question for the mover.
Briefly, if I can respond, transport measures. That's what we're talking about, which are the measures that Auckland Transport implement.
SOI, they can't do anything else.
That's what they implement, that's what they deliver, and that's what we fund.
So it's all the
Yeah, so just...
So it's all the transport measures. We're talking, and no, it is important. So Barry, when this is interpreted by your staff and you see the words, what they believe are realistic measures plural, it's all the measures in the SOI. Is that how you're going to interpret it, or are you going to interpret it like it's you know, the transport measures, of course? How are you going to interpret that?
As measures in the SOI. It doesn't refer to specific measures in the SOI, so it's the SOI measures.
It's all the measures. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
This will not be difficult if this passes, Chair. The minute from the February meeting of the Auckland Transport Board was codified in that way because the Auckland Transport's officers reported to the board. And actually, they reported to the governing body, or committee of the whole, I think 2 years ago on this point, and we just waved it through. We waved through the problem. It would be good to have the problem brought back, because then we will understand the gap between what we say we want them to achieve and what we do not fund them to deliver. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Okay, so there doesn't appear to be any more debate on this, and so if you're unhappy with the wording or unhappy of it, you have an option to take. This is just the amendment, and so we are voting on the amendment. So I shall put it Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against? It is carried.
Unanimously, Mr Chair, I observe.
Well done to you, Wayne. Okay,
I get a chocolate
so
kiss.
it is now added, and so we go back to, I have a speaking list for,
Oh dear. Really?
which was still there from when we started, and Richard, you are at the top of that.
Kia ora, thank you. I guess climate change should be and is one of the most emotional issues of our time. So happy to always speak out on this in a scientific way, in a emotive way, whatever sees fit, and I think it's important. But I will say that, you know, a few of us have been trying pretty hard over the last few years to get climate issues up. We hear about funding, but that's why we added a climate targeted rate, which I think had about 70% support from the community, to increase and improve 78 bus routes, about up to over 1 million Aucklanders, and add 10 frequent routes. And Stacey and her team come to us all the time to tell us what they're doing. I think we're up to 42 frequent routes now, and that was funded large. A big chunk of it was the light rail, and sadly, if we're asking to compare us with other cities, they are rolling out light rail and metro, even just to Australia. Go around all the major cities in Australia, they are rolling out those big transport projects which are transforming their cities to reduce emissions. This isn't just about emissions. As we've heard from our presenters earlier in public forum, better cycling, better walking, better public transport helps connect our communities together. It helps make it safer. It helps make parents make a decision. Do I drive my kid a kilometre up the road because it's unsafe, or can I empower them to walk, reducing all those trips that we don't see during school holidays? Everyone knows that during school holidays, traffic drops considerably. Why is that? Because no one's driving their, not no one, but people aren't driving their kids to school because they suddenly feel confident that the transport system enables their kids to do that. This is the type of thing that is in the TERP. It is not scary, it is not surprising. The TERP pathway, and it will be, I guess, a question for the ministers that were part of the last national government who signed up to the Paris Agreement, which is a significantly unfunded plan. The TERP and Te Tarakia Tāwhiri is Auckland's piece of that puzzle. It is scientifically based. It is saying if we want to meet Auckland's transport reduction, it has to meet New Zealand's emissions reduction plan, and it has to meet the Paris Agreement. Are we failing on all those things? Clearly, with the budgets and the GPS and the changes, we are way off track. But the issue is, at 2050, we're somehow supposed to reach that, and the TERP was telling us the types of things, even though they were massively scary, that we would need to do to start shifting that dial. I don't really know why this debate goes round and round. I just want to put more funding into the things that help our plan, help New Zealand's plan, help the Paris Agreement targets that I think only Trump is not agreed to around the world. It is a massive issue. I don't know what a goon show is, but we have to face up to this. This is why I think nearly everyone in the last term signed up to Te Tarakia Tāwhiri, signed up to the climate targeted rate, and signed up to the TERP. Yes, there was 3 or 4 who recorded their votes against parts of those things, but this is not just happening in isolation. And Auckland Transport signed up to the TERP before we did. We did it in conjunction with them. Wayne Donnelly and Adrian Young Cooper were working with us on that. They, I guess we could say, haven't implemented the things they said they would in their resolutions or our direction to them. So, you know, maybe this is part of the Auckland Transport focus back within council with strategy and policy, and maybe it won't be so complex. But it's not just about budget. Project K or Karangahape Road neighbourhood is the same budget, but the new proposal takes away a lot of the walking and cycling and things that were in there at the beginning. That is literally emissions. If there are now cars lined up in the mornings trying to avoid Karangahape Road, if that's what it ends up like, that's increasing emissions, that's reducing the easiness, safety of walking and cycling into that station, which was the same budget. So there are decisions that are made all over the city within budget that remove the walking and cycling, that remove the easy access for buses. Yes, we're well behind on our figures because Kiwi Rail has, rightly so, they had to upgrade the network, but have closed those rail, and we can't make any money on it. So back to the SOI, I think we need to be doing more on safety. We've put $500 million into trying to address the big cuts in the GPS to that, but climate change, it will be good to get some more advice on that because we have to do it. The government's still doing it, signed up to it, and we need to all face up to it together.
Thank you. And those, The Goons was a fantastic TV show that was probably in black and white and you would have never seen. A radio show and TV for some of us youngies, Desley. Chris Darby.
Thanks, Chair. So a lot of points have been raised here today, and in particular, I've heard a lot of my colleagues raise the importance of reframing the SOI through the lens of the TERP and emissions. So I think, and in some ways, the D goes towards that, but of course the word climate is not appearing after the word realistic. And the mover didn't want that. But I want to emphasise, as is consistent with the opportunity that C gives me and all of us, that the questions I raised of staff be referred to, and I'm sure the staff will be going through the tape of this meeting, and the commentary and questions around TERP are referred to and responded to by staff and Auckland Transport. The same with the emphasis on PT boardings and active transport. I support a greater attention there. That's part of my feedback. And also on asset renewals, a major issue for this council and Auckland Transport. So I won't comment in detail about those areas, Chair. I think the staff are looking for a very clear feed on what needs to be followed up with. They will record that feedback and follow up on it. So I'm going to leave it there, and I look forward to that further work.
Thank you, Chris. Alf, did you, your turn.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And it's going to be so short that you'll be so surprised. This is going to be B, and it is for the mayor. If he would be okay, even his office, if the letter that he prepares and sends to Auckland Transport is also forwarded to us for transparency perspective. Simple as that. Kia ora.
Yep, it's a yes. And so no other. So Christine, do you want to wind things up?
I don't need to exercise my right of reply rather than asking everyone to support this.
Excellent. Okay, Lottie, you good? Okay, so no more debate. We will put this. Those in favour say aye. Aye. And against? Carried. Right, let's move along to the Auckland Transport Quarterly Report. Remember, this is a look back